And a warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for joining me for another 24/7 A Master's Gathering, one of 50 live broadcasts that we offer every single year, which is pretty amazing. Some of them are free, like this program, and some are in-studio classes, and some are connected to our iSpirit program. But we are enjoying very much being of service to all of you who have made the boldest choice that anybody could ever make. You decided to let your soul in your life. So good for you. How's that going? And we work with you to make sure that it's going in a way that actually serves both the soul and the human. So welcome. Thank you for joining me again here. Today marks the beginning of really our second year of broadcasting 24/7 A Master's Gathering, and we have a special live announcement planned for this event, which I will share with all of you at the end of this show. So hang on to your seats and get ready for some changes with that. Also, if you'd like to join me and my special co-host today and be live on today's show to interact with my co-host and, if need be, with me too, simply click on the raised hand icon that's on the top of your screen, and that will place you in a virtual waiting room where I will be able to select you as the show goes on, bring you on live, do all the technical part here, and allow you and my co-host to interact with each other in a way that it's set up here. And the original intention for creating this particular venue was for each of you to experience the freedom, the relief from practicing giving voice to that part of you that is also you, that's wanting to live with the human part, not as a channeled message, but as a part of you that also has its own expression, has its own voice. Now, it's okay if you're still working with that and you want to share how you are working with that. And for a lot of you, the expression of your soul isn't coming through verbally. It's being expressed through a variety of other um, expressions. Some of you are pretty incredible artists, and that expression is quite profound. A lot of it you just can't give words to. So let's take a deep breath here together as all of us together in this global audience here. We share this energy that is here in support of us, including the presence of my dear friend, counterpart, Mikiel. Let's take another deep breath as we ask the technologies that support this interaction to support us. And as well, let's take another deep breath and simply feel into the energy that is us. Those of us that had the courage to be on this planet at this time. And notice how that continues to change, continues to evolve into what it is here today. So, a few quick announcements, and I suspect that Michael has a few things he wants to share. Then I'd like to introduce today's co-host. Coming up here, we have a in-studio class on September 29th, which is just 2 weeks from today. These are all-day classes that start at 10 o'clock in the morning and end at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. This class is called Dancing with the Sacred. So we still have a few spaces left for that class. And like all of the things that we offer, class size is limited. We like to keep things very intimate and very personal. It's not about how many people can we pack into each event. It's working with those of you that want to have an intimate relationship with both the group that's participating with you and with Michael and myself. So at the end of today's show, if you feel inclined, feel your heart being pulled to participate in that, simply go to our live event tab on the top of our website and click on In Studio Classes, and then go ahead and click on Dancing with the Sacred. While you're there, you might also want to sign up for next month's free live broadcast of Conversations with Michael. That just requires you to click on the Sign Up tab. You can register there. Once you sign up, you're good to go. You'll receive a link that you simply click on that allows you to come on live and participate in that event. These are live, interactive events that this show is set up where you can interact in a video format. The other shows are in events and classes are set up where you can interact in a text format. So let's take another deep breath here. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Robert. I am Michael, Michiel, one and the same. And I'm here to be of service to each of you to do what? Well, let's keep this so simple, but to remind you of what you are and what you are not. But you are in relationship of what you are not, so how to make that work for you. What you are not is the mind, but the mind has been in service to the identity, the personality that was created here in this lifetime, as it has been created every lifetime. What is its primary service to each of you? To create a safe space. Why does it need to create a safe space? Because it sees that this planet that you're on and this life form called humanity that you're sharing your life with cannot be trusted. And so your mind, without the full presence of your soul, feels that its primary duty and service to you is to create a safe space that's based on your past, which means that it must create a variety of insulated comfort zones that deny you your freedom but keep your safety intact. Whenever you think of doing something outside those comfort zones, whenever you want to do something that's called change, you'll always feel the mind push an emotion that is intended to stop you from acting on whatever impulse you're feeling from your own freedom, your own passion for living. Its duty then is to maintain your safety. Allowing the soul into your life doesn't feel safe to the mind. And so it interferes with this process. It also has an agenda. It feels that the soul, because it wasn't fully committed to being fully embodied in the early stages of your life, it feels that the soul can't be trusted. It feels that the soul has abandoned the mind to take responsibility for your life. Something that the mind isn't qualified to do, but from a place of pride, your mind can look to your soul and say, at least I stuck here. At least I didn't go away. I've gone through all the most difficult experiences while you were doing what? Playing with the archangels? So this mind has a legitimate, tangible, practical agenda, which makes it really difficult to allow the presence of this soul to coexist with the mind, which offers the mind exactly what it was hoping to receive initially, its primary service. Its primary service is to its female counterpart, the heart, to its female counterpart, in the galactic terms, universal terms, consciousness. And so as we have gone through a variety of steps to ensure the mind that you, soul, now want to be here more than anywhere else in all of creation. And that's what it's going to take to convince the mind that it's partially safe initially, to allow it to coexist with this mind. It needs to feel from you and hear from you verbally that you are fully committed to this physical experience. And that's taken us years to get a lot of you to make that kind of commitment. Because there's reasons why the soul didn't put both feet in this reality. It's awkward, isn't it? It's really an energy here. It's really dense. It's not very inviting. You know, if it was kind of a heaven on earth type of environment, well, of course, you'd all jump right in head first. But the way it is and the conditions that you have inherited and the conditions of this human family of yours has made it really, really difficult for you to actually want to be here. Until you started hearing that there's benefits to that, that actually enhances your relationship with you and all of life when you do leave here on your terms. And so a shift has occurred here in the last 20 years, 10, 20 years. More and more of you have stepped forward and decided this was the lifetime to make this real. A lot more of you step back. Step back to be the observers of those who are stepping forward. Those who have stepped back, they want to see tangible evidence that this is actually real. Having your own soul counterpart in your body with you, also speaking with you, that is our service to each of you. Robert and me, took me years, took me lifetimes to get Robert to sign up for this, just like all of you. But here we are. Here we are. If this isn't enough, then look to others as well to give your mind what it wants to see. Tangible evidence that the human soul relationship is dependable, real, non-threatening, but most importantly, safe. It took me years as Michael to develop that kind of trust in Robert's mind. And here we are. So, what is needed now from each of you, what is being asked of each of you, is to make that kind of commitment to being here, and while you're here, to make it feel fulfilling. What must we do? We need to elevate your energy. You get so easily pulled into what's going on with mass consciousness. You need to make the same commitment that you've made to being here. While you're here, the commitment now is to elevate your energy so that you don't get pulled into all the trauma that's going on with your human family. Indeed. Let's take a breath here together. It's my honor to be with so many of you who have found it in your own hearts to say yes to this human soul relationship. So I'm going to step back a little bit here and let Robert blend more with me. So it's more of a 50-50 kind of relationship. Why? Well, because we want to introduce our co-host and we don't want to put her on the spot. Indeed. Our co-host today is Sandra Rogerman. She's the founder of a Masters Hub, which is what many of you already are familiar with and participate in, a Facebook group. Sandra calls herself an essence coach and space holder. She is a certified psychotherapist and energetic facilitator for over 10 years. She's a mother of 2 teenagers and moved from her home country in Germany to live with her partner, Jonathan, near Amsterdam in the Netherlands. She has created the international network Masters Hub, which serves as a platform for conscious creators to inspire, co-create, and get together at so-called hub events. Sandra is currently co-creating a coaching school for sense navigators to offer a new approach to the coaching world. I like to dive into new potential, she says, to create new and fun ways to grow and expand beyond what the mind believes is possible. You can reach Sandra at sandra@mastershub.nl if you'd like to participate in any of her own events. So I'm going to do a little technical magic here with bringing Sandra on as my co-host. And we just have to find her here. There we go. And Sandra, as you're coming on, I'm going to put on my handy dandy earphones, which Michael hates, but too bad.
Again, yeah. Coexistence. Hi,
Yeah.
Robert. Hi.
Hi, thank you for being on today's show. And let me shift to gallery view there. Now we're side by side. Welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about yourself. I know we introduced you with some of the text here, but go ahead and tell more about what you're doing and why you decided to be a co-host on today's show.
Good question. It's one of those things where the master goes, "We're doing this," and the human goes, "I guess we're doing this. Are we doing this? Okay, we're doing this. Apparently, we're doing this." So, yeah, it's been quite a ride over the last year with the Master's Hub and with sort of flowing with whatever comes to my doorstep. And that's also the reason why I created the Master's Hub. The human is never ready to do anything. The human, like you said, is always wanting that safe space and this comfort zone. And, you know, the mind says it all works anyway the way it does, so don't change anything. Mm-hmm. But for me, you know, it was really time to, show up in a different way and just also show myself how far I've already come with, you know, making my mind more flexible, more bendable. And that's a service it has done to me. So it's really this co-creation between the master and the human. And I just love the format. I just think it's awesome that you get people from all over the world together, just like I do with the Master's Hub. And I just think it's a beautiful way to, you know, get closer together. It's like cuddling up on the couch and going like, well, you know, how do you do this? How does this work for you? Yeah. That's always a question that moves me deeply. I want to know how people do it in life. It's not about, you know, can you be in that sacred, holy space with yourself? It's about, can you be in life?
Absolutely. Well put. What have you noticed just with the masters, with the hubbers? What have you noticed within that group? That's a very dynamic, very independent group of people, free-thinking people that they too are, you know, they work with the Crimson Circle. Some work with me, some work with Jim Selfs, variety of places where people are also touching base with other teachers, but they have a certain independence, a certain sovereignty to them that I haven't really seen in some other Facebook groups. And it's kind of refreshing. So what have you seen in how they, you know, not speaking for them, but just in general, how you see that energy, how it's kind of evolved over, say, the last year since you started it?
Yeah, I must go back to the initial impulse that I had. Why to put a platform like that out there, right? Because there's many places where we can be spiritual. There's many places where we can follow other people's teachings, like your beautiful platform. But for me, it was a missing component, you know, having followed the material of the Crimson Circle. And of course, you know, previous to that, it was my own journey with the Mystery School of the Essenes, and many, many other years I've spent with esoteric teachings and everything. I had come to a stage where I felt I can use those gems that are handed to me by those teachers and by those entities, but ultimately it has to be my human stepping forward. And I just love the idea of being able to be human, be vulnerable, and just go out there anyway. So, somebody had to go first. So I said, okay, I'm going to go first. I'm going to be fully myself and just see, are others out there that are ready to also step forward? And despite the human, despite what's going on in their lives. And I connected to people and I realized there's really this, it's like a missing link. So you've come far enough to be of the realization that you are a sovereign creator, but then you go, so now what? So how do I do this? And how do I speak to other people, and how do I go back out there into life? So for me, it was essential to come to the point of connecting to sort of my tribe and connect to the people that I know and go, well, how about creating this dynamic platform where we can all meet and just hook up and talk about these things and support each other.
Yeah.
And quite obviously the time has been right for that. Within the year we've grown over 900 members on the Facebook group alone. Yeah. And in our live events here in the Netherlands, I'm always amazed how people, feel pulled to participate physically. So we've had events now, 4 events where people have come from all over the world, from Japan to Australia to America, and they just travel here to feel that sovereign space, a safe space where we can just be the human and be the master and inspire each other.
Beautiful, beautiful. I noticed one of the things that, I'm not a real big Facebook person, but I enjoyed, that's one of the places where I can kind of tune in. I don't tune into CNN or any of the news broadcasts or anything. I have no idea what's going on in that way, but it's interesting to just kind of see, just the witness where people are there. And I noticed with the Masters Hub and the Hubbers there's to me, a refreshing shift away from just being a parrot to what Michael has said or Damas has said or anybody else has said. And they're really giving voice. I know it's awkward initially to give voice to your own truth, but it's so refreshing to be able to hear people speak their own truth without always having to reference, well, that couldn't be right. I mean, because this being said, this is what you should be doing and how it should be said. All these beings, whether it's Mike or anybody else, they're not here for anybody else to just voice what they have said. They want to hear your voice. Their service is to be of service to you, feeling comfortable with your truth. And the Masters Hub seems to almost insist that be what it is that you're doing if you're going to participate in this Facebook group. And it's so refreshing to hear that and to see it.
Absolutely. And there's this other dynamic, because of course when I started the group and when people started pouring in, I feel it running through my system, because like you do with everything that you put out there, it's your creation. So and then you just feel everybody interacting, and energetically it just gets crowded very quickly. Yeah. And so we have this sort of self-running system of adding people to our closed group, where you think, okay, it will clear itself. I don't need to control this, but of course you do check who's coming in. And sometimes, it's not always the sincerity of the people to come in. Sometimes it's curiosity. Sometimes it's just, I don't know, whatever it is. It sorts itself out. So they sometimes step into the group and just put things out there that just don't resonate. Right. And in the beginning I thought, okay, how do we do this? Do we control this, or do I moderate it? But it just sort of fades out because nobody interacts. And this is something that I find really reassuring and refreshing, that, there is this certain vibration within the group that these energies cannot sustain themselves.
Yes. It's awkward when we go through so many of these changes, and still there's that voice of the wounded human part that wants to express itself. So, occasionally someone might post something that, a couple of days later, they might look back and go, why the hell did I post that?
Actually, I do that all the time. So
well, this was for you.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we always do that. It seems so important to say it at the time. Maybe after a few glasses of wine, it's really important to say it. And we're not really sure that's the best time to really communicate. But there it is. It gets posted and people respond, and whether it's taken for what it is or if it stirs up some trauma. But that's what's going on inside of us, and if we can just kind of be okay, that's happening. There's a Facebook group inside of us that's ongoing all the time. And it's all these different facets of who we are that some
and
of them,
trolls.
yeah, exactly. And most of them aren't in agreement with this whole mastery business. They think you're an idiot to even try to do it. And so I bow before you for having
Thank you.
the clarity and the patience to working with collective energies, because if you take it personally, it actually can beat you down and have you want to do something else.
But I do have the lovely support of not only the energies around me that make sure this is all happening gracefully and easily, but also lovely humans that are by my side that just have my back and step in and step forward, because ultimately this can't be a one-man show. I can't sit there and post every day about my life. This will become boring very quickly. So
right.
The Masters Help also lives from this interaction, which I think is vital. I think we need to share. We need to go out there and be vulnerable. I feel stupid today. I feel fat. I feel ugly. I feel not successful. I feel judgmental before myself and before others. And I've had a shitty day with my kids. And I think we really now have this base so settled that people are also willing to come out on a video, that have never really been in front of their own camera and filmed themselves with, I'm having this horrible day or this really horrible time.
Yeah.
This is so, so important for all of our journeys. Because ultimately it's a collective movement that we are all going through. There are phases that you can really name and say, we're all having this weird energy at the moment. And, let's just share more so we understand this more.
Yeah. I know Michael's focus this last year has been a lot on the human emotion called sympathy. And I know there's a tendency from the human part to need that kind of support from that sympathetic response. But it's brought up not as a judgment or, you should have evolved beyond that or that's not the right way to express yourself, but to be conscious of the part that is and probably always will feel wounded, and just to be okay with that. And sometimes allowing it, acknowledging it, and then giving it expression has nothing to do with feeding, has everything to do with honor, respect, and acknowledgement. And there's another part that doesn't use human emotions. And that took me a long time to get comfortable with Michael, who doesn't rely on human emotions to express himself. And it made me feel really insecure. Like, how am I supposed to have, if this was a marriage, wouldn't you want to divorce me after like 48 hours? I mean, it doesn't seem very compatible. But you see that that's what's working here. So in relationship and support of one another, it's all good as far as, this is my human part and it's sharing this. I know there's this other part, but I want to share this. And actually right now, more people resonate with the wounded male part or human part that just doesn't know that it's safe to let this other part to be in, or that it actually would want to be in relationship with that part of us that does feel a little bit fucked up. And so
I think
it
is so so important at this time to show up with that human. And I know that there are some people out there that say, oh, why do we still need to separate it into human and master? Why do I have to call myself a master? I just am. Well, we know all that, but I think there has been such a neglection of that very limited view of the physical being, that we need to call it and we need to invite it and we need to speak to it. And, in my sessions with my clients, I see what difference it makes when I turn to the human and when I say, I see you. the whole system just opens up
Yeah.
to a cellular level. And this is so important because we have been in this human state for eons, since the beginning of time, and we've stored all these information. So it's all good and dandy if we go hold hands and sing Kumbaya and are in our beingness, and that's all nice, you know, we've all done that. But to take the human along and to say to the human, it's okay, you know, I see you, I hear you, you're freaking out, I'm still here, everybody else is still here, you know. There's 899 eyes on you, it's good, we're all having those situations. That's when it can relax.
Yeah. I think some people get confused with the idea of you need to release your human control, and part of that is, yes, the control needs to be encouraged to not need to be in control. But Bob inside of me, Robert inside of me, hasn't evolved a whole lot more than who he was 15, 20 years ago. He's just now learned to trust. Wow, this other dude is pretty amazing. And I love the energy, you know. So now Robert doesn't have to look outside of himself for energetic support.
Exactly.
But it took years. I mean, it didn't happen because I did that too. I'm just going to release, you know, my human whatever stuckness and allow Michael to be here. And I didn't realize when I did that, Michael stepped back and said, no, that's not what's happening here. Nice try, but no, that's not what's happening. This is about you saying, I love who I am that's stuck. And I allow the other part of me who isn't stuck to also be with me. And that's what shifts or breaks this pattern of duality, where we've separated opposites of ourselves. We've done this for a long time. And that's what changes the reality of all of creation, is we create something new that doesn't have us pushing away opposites of ourselves, but allowing an all-inclusive relationship with the parts that are fucked up and the parts that have never been fucked up. And that's okay. They dance together.
And you don't have to be in this position where you are completely 1000% clean in order to create.
Oh, Sandra,
it works already.
You're not there?
Well, you know, I might be telling myself just another big fat story here. Never mind.
Yeah.
It is for me. It's just so vital to see the grandness that is already coming through into my human life, everyday life, that I can really feel, you know, wow, you know, there's things coming in. It comes to me. I might not always like it, what comes to my doorstep, but if I'm willing to dance with it, if I'm willing to navigate through my life with whatever happens, all of a sudden the energy starts to change. If I'm not in resistance with, you know, with what my life is about at the moment, then I can just relax.
Very good. Very good. Well, you and I could probably engage in this kind of interaction for the next hour, but I noticed we got a few people that want to join with us and with you.
Lovely.
And yes, and I encourage anyone who would like to come online and interact with both Sandra and myself. Feel free to just click on we've got a few right there. But first, let's go to Mike here and bring him on. It'll be the usual deal with the muting of the audio. Hi, Mike. I see we've got an audio here, but we don't have a video of you. Are you?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, that's fine. If you'd like to just interact in an audio format, I'm going to let you and Sandra have a conversation together.
Hello, Mike.
Hi.
The audio is really bad. I cannot hear you. I cannot understand.
Yeah, neither can I, Mike. I think your internet. There you go. If your internet connection is not pretty good, usually the software doesn't accommodate that very well. But go ahead and try again.
Yes, I have a question for the Michael regarding the cloud.
Yeah, we're not doing that. This isn't a show about questions for Michael. This is a show for you to interact with our co-host today, and start with that.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe next person and next time I will ask a question of the Michael. Thank you.
That would be, yeah. Thank you, Mike. I'll let you go back to where you were there. Questions for Michael is conversations with Michael. That's.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome to do that there. I'll put you back in an attendee role, and we've got a couple other people. Iola is here, and let me bring you on. You're sideways. So we're going to unmute you.
Hi.
Oh, hello.
Hi, Sandra. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hi. How are you? Good. You look good. You sound good. I'm so happy to be here. So, Sandra, I have a question for you because I've just come out of a 3-year relationship. I'm just coming out of it. I'm actually, my body's also releasing stuff right now. So I've been in bed for like a week. But so it's not completely over because I mean, I love the essence of the man. It's just like not, it's like, I just knew it was going to end, you know, and I saw the energy start closing. And so my question is about conscious relationships. I want to know how to navigate this because there's a part of me, especially now that we're entering, like, you know, into this Amyo life. And I've known that since the day I woke up, that was what was coming. And I've seen so much evidence. My whole life has been about it, but it's been limited. And now it feels like it wants to open up completely to this whole place of just being and allowing. So how do you feel about conscious relationships? Because you're in one. Because I don't know what to say to him, because I enjoy being around him, but I can't be around the limited mentality all the time because it's just it makes me have to defend my divinity. That's what it feels like to me to say no, but that's not really how I operate, or I like, you know, it's. Mm-hmm. I'm more at ease with these things. I allow these things, but from someone that's still in that mental space that works for things and, you know, has the normal mass conscious kind of thing. In a relationship, I just want to know what your experience is.
Yeah, and isn't it beautiful that you get to see exactly what is going on inside of you? Like you say, mm-hmm. You know, it was limited for a very long time in your life. You know, you could always connect to it, but you couldn't live it fully. And now you're ready to live it fully. And what happens? Mm-hmm. That part mm-hmm. externally projecting yourself back to you, mirroring your back to you, your partner is falling away because you've made a choice. You've made a choice to be fully committed to, you know, stepping into this full experience of realization. Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, the ultimate consequence is that our outward life has to change, so we step into our full divinity. And a conscious relationship, and I hated that when people would say that to me years ago, because I've also had, I've had quite a few relationships that didn't work out and I wanted them to. And people would say to me, a conscious relationship starts within you, right? And I think you've made that choice. So, you know, mm-hmm. to really step into your own full divinity. And I think it's about sovereignty. It's about, you know, can you be with yourself? Most people have learned to be in a relationship to sort of make amends and be flexible. But when it comes to being alone, it comes to, you know, can you really own your own space? Then it becomes a little bit wobbly and difficult. That's why most normal people stay in relationships, because it just is a nice distraction. But I guess we're now coming to a point, and the way that I perceive you just go, you know, I just have to live and I just have to be open and I just mm-hmm. want to experience the richness of this, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And ultimately step into your own richness, you know.
Mm-hmm. I was sovereign before, and I know I create. I mean, it was a conscious creation stepping into this relationship, because there was a part of my human self that still wanted to experience certain things that kind of came through that aspect. I mean, I recognized that he came in, if you want to use the word, I recognized him straight away when I came, and I stayed longer than I should have, but I always knew it would end because I went there for an experience, and I've had that experience. And so that's why it started closing, and because everything communicates to me, I'm like, it has to end. It has to end,
and
you know.
And maybe also you had to be in this relationship to take your human along.
Yeah.
To sort of allow yourself that human relationship with somebody that doesn't share the exact consciousness with you, so that you can take your human along, because, you know, ultimately the human is the last to know, the body is the last to know. We need to be able to wait for it to catch up with us, right? And so it's ready to take the next big leap of faith into opening up every cell, every atom of the being.
That's nice. That's beautiful. I appreciate that. That's nice. Yeah, I know, because it's boggled me a little bit. I'm like, why the hell did I go and do this? Because it was, because it was, I mean, it was wonderful. I mean, if I look back and because I look at it and I'm like, it was wonderful, but it was like, there was this other thing that kept fighting with the free self. I kept feeling that resistance within me, like, it's good, but it's not good enough kind of thing, because it doesn't allow full expression. I shut down so much of my creativity. A lot of things were getting, and I'm like, I knew it before. And so that's what made it felt really uncomfortable. And so, yeah, I was just like, now what? Now what?
Yeah, and again, we are, you know, I guess as far as free will goes, you know, you've made a commitment and a choice, and most of us are very stubborn in following that. It's also another chance to reflect and to, you know, reassure yourself that your commitment is complete and full, you know, to step out of a relationship like that. So, you know, good on you. This takes balls, you know. It does take a whole lot of courage. And I understand you're also a mother, you know.
Yes.
And you're not in your home country, so
Yes.
I feel with you. You know, I know exactly where you're at.
Yeah, I'm just me. It's just me.
You know, take the beautiful human along, you know, and
Yeah.
you know, ultimately, it's all your creation, and I think we can really now trust that, right? When we come to that point, and when I feel you know, hell, what can go wrong? We're ready.
Yeah, okay. Thank you so much. I love that. Thank you, Sandra.
Lovely seeing you.
Nice to see you too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Robert.
You're welcome. And I'm going to move her back to where, conscious relationships. You know, a lot of people say, I want a conscious relationship with another human being. And it's probably, well, I'll tell this story. I used to follow for a little bit when I was 19, a yogi, and he had a lot of followers. So I was sitting there listening to him, and one person came up to him and said, I've done all the kriyas, I've done all the practices, I've done everything that you asked us to do, but I'm still not enlightened. And so what's the deal? What am I afraid of? And this yogi turned to him and said, well, you still look single. And he said, yeah, I am. I said, well, if you want to get on the fast track, go get involved with another human being, have a conscious relationship with them. And this guy was willing to do everything. He had done everything. And he just laughed and said, no way in hell. I don't want anything to do with that. And Yogi just said, you know, well, it's going to take you a little longer. But if that's, you know, when you're not using somebody else and you're not reflecting so much, but you are in support of each other to be themselves and not needing them to be for you what you're not willing to be for yourself. Boy, yeah, it takes a lot of stuff. It takes a lot of stuff there. You know, a lot of us have gone through relationships where we didn't realize this isn't working, you know, because we really are feeding on each other. We're not consciously getting involved with ourselves or taking a deeper responsibility for how we want to feel about ourselves. It just feels good to have their energy there with us. So, you know, some of us have moved into those conscious relationships, and as fulfilling and as rewarding as it is most of the time, it's also the most challenging choice I've ever made in my life. And
That romantic idea about it.
yeah.
Oh yeah, oh it's lovely. Just be aware with each other the whole time.
Right.
You know, the way that we deal with it is just we pretty quickly learn to navigate it. You know, when one of us is in a reaction, you just go, hold your breath. I need to be with myself now because I just feel there's so much coming up. And
Yeah.
you know, I can either dump this on you, and we can have an argument. That's like option A, but it doesn't seem so attractive anymore after 42 years. So you know, let's see what happens if we just stop this here. We can come back to it anytime, but at the moment, I need to be with myself and look at what's happening here, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Very good. Yeah. Okay. Let's see who else we got here. We have Marcos, and I'm going to bring him on. And unmute you. There we are. Welcome, Marcos.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, I know all these people.
I'm supposed to be on here. I'm supposed to be working at the moment, but I thought I'd sign in because I heard it was lovely to hear you.
Marcos, your audio is fading in and out there a little bit on your end. You might want to turn up your audio just a little bit. There we are. Yeah,
Yeah.
much better.
If I take that headset off, it's better. Did you hear anything I said at all?
No.
Oh, sorry. Okay, so I wasn't even going to come in here because I was kind of working. Now I'm supposed to be working, but I've taken a break. Now I was listening, but it was lovely to hear Robert share about his observations about the Master's Hub, and because it's exactly how I felt as well about the group. And it's a sovereign place for people to share, and it's just really great. So, and I just wanted to really express my appreciation for that. That was my initial thing, and then you guys started talking about conscious relationships and you know, things to be the kind of thing that's in our awareness at the moment. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's lovely that you're here. I'm really happy to see you.
Oh,
And you know, we've talked, and especially about this whole subject of a conscious relationship. And you know, how's it been for you over the last 5-6 weeks? You know, for me it was a super big ride. You know, it's like my human can't come up with that shit. You know, and not only in the good way. So, how's it been for you?
I kind of fell back into interacting with my kid's mom again, like, but keeping kind of a distance. And then I don't know why I do this, but why I did it. But like I get involved in, like, I try and find out what she's doing with the people she's being involved with now, and like being curious about it. And I want to let it go, but for some reason, because we have the kids, I don't know what it is, and it feels like there's a lot of, I can see it now more than ever, that the amount of feeding and kind of imbalance that happens with what she does with other people, because I can see it now. Maybe that's why I've come back to really have a look at it, because now I've been looking at the SES stuff as well, and it all fits together, and I can see it really clearly within her, but more within myself. So I was thinking, like, I'm beating myself up about it. Like, why am I bothering? But it's given me great clarity, to be honest.
Yeah, I love that you can see that. And ultimately, it's like, you know, I guess everyone's like that. When you drive past an accident, you just have to look. I mean, there's so much to look at, right? There's so much to see, so much, wow, so much energy, you know, not even with a judgment. But I guess we're still sometimes in that pattern of there's so much going on around me. I'd rather interact with that than step into this sovereign place of quietness, of vastness, of me. You know, and then you do see the connections, you do see what's going on, but it's like, the human buying a little bit more time, going, no, let's just have another look. I can still choose to look away tomorrow, but and I guess sometimes we judge ourselves for that, but ultimately I feel we are wise beyond this, because we see we need to catch up with the latest realizations. And you've made a super big step. I mean, we talked, and I know where you were at 2 months ago, and I feel so much has shifted for you. And we just have to also be nice to ourselves. Maybe it's a choice to say, I don't have to step right into this scary place of, oh my God, nothingness, but maybe to say, okay, I'll exchange the distractions for looking after myself, being with myself. I'd rather, do something for yourself, instead of interfering and being distracted.
Yeah,
that's a challenge every day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm planning to go a lot of walks in nature and stuff, and just really take care of myself in the next couple of weeks. So.
Yeah, and you're doing well. Like, be nice to yourself. This is like, this is me saying this to myself, basically, so I can watch it back maybe at some later point. Be nice to yourself. There's so much happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So cool to interact with you both.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. But let me add one thing here too. None of us were told that when you make love to another human being, when you enter a woman, everything that is in her and everything that's in you gets exchanged. No one told me that. I just went into it for the pleasure initially as a teenager, but no one told me that. Do you understand what occurs here? There's an energetic blending and melding and a transfer of energies between who you are and who they are. If I had been informed just a little bit about the energetics of lovemaking and the energetics of sexuality, then I could have made better or different choices as to who I'm really wanting to share where I am. That some of that was, as we all do, we want to protect certain things that don't feel safe to reveal themselves. But as well, what you pick up from other people, you didn't agree to process those energies or those emotions for those other people, but most of us were unconscious that that's what was going on. We started giving voice to it. We started projecting it to our children.
Yeah.
It really, once you remove yourself from that kind of feeding that's going on, then you can see it clearer. But, at least for me, it took me years to really let it go and just be okay with my kids and with whatever exes and all that. It took me years. Maybe other people can do it quicker, but it's not an easy thing to do when you realize, why didn't anyone tell us this?
Definitely. Especially when kids are involved as well. And if it wasn't that, I would be long gone doing my own thing, and I wouldn't even care.
And that's also the beauty. I mean, you get to be a great standard for your kids, right? You get to be the one talking to your children, talking to your girls and saying, this is what's happening, when they grow up. This is how energies are working, and manage your own energy well and look after yourself. Like Robert said, had anybody told you? Well, we're now in the position as parents to pass this on, or maybe, even if you don't have kids, we all know somebody who does. So there's always this opportunity to just, offer this information.
Definitely.
Really good. Really good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. So let me find you here. We got another one. It's always a little trip here. I have to always tell who to get out of the way a little bit. I don't know what I'm doing. So let me go to another one. We have someone here from Australia.
Wow.
Yes. And let me unmute you. There, you should be good to go.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Hello, Sandy.
Hello, how are you, Sandra?
I'm really well, thank you. Good to see you.
Same. I'm in my bathrobe, my dressing gown, because it's 4 o'clock in the morning here.
Oh, wow. You look well. How did you do
Thank
it?
you. It's the lighting. This is one of my favorite topics, actually, talking about conscious relationships. And I just had to chime in and raise my hand about it. It just brought so many awarenesses in terms of like what it's meant for me being in a conscious relationship, particularly this year. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that I notice is that it's being able to stay with everything. Whereas in the past, I would haven't been able to stay with things, but being able to stay with the challenging emotions, mm-hmm. and being able to stay, like, I like what Robert said before about how, you know, like it can be like the sweetest thing, like the sweet spots are fantastic, but when the challenges arise, they're really in your face as well.
Yeah. And
you can't walk away from them, you know, to the same degree as before. And I think what I do differently now is that I know when to step into my own space better, you know, and take that time to be with myself and give myself what I need rather than expecting the other person to do that.
Yeah.
You know?
And I guess that's it, you know, in a nutshell. That's what a conscious relationship is about. It's of course about sharing experiences in life and just, you know, being in life together as sovereign beings, but ultimately it means understanding where is your space, where does that stop and where does the others begin, and that's energy management, which is really I think that's the ultimate last big challenge that we're facing in relationships, in any relationship. You know, where do I stop and where do you begin? And how can I take whatever comes and arises within me for my own growth and give the rest back to you, and be sure that you will handle it in the way and in the manner that you can and in the time that you can, you know. So I guess that's the beauty and the respect that comes with a conscious relationship.
Yeah, totally. And the big thing for me, which was that, you know, for a long time in my life, particularly in male-female relationships, I didn't always feel safe because I didn't grow up with that safe, you know, father figure. And it's been about, you know, like, how do I also stay open and allow myself to feel whatever is feeling and know. And I suppose it comes down to what you were saying about, you know, taking the human along and discovering through the process that I can stay open, I can feel everything, and I can express, and I'm safe.
Yeah.
You know, and knowing that, you know, regardless of the situation, that I have the freedom to, you know, step out of it whenever I want, but I'm choosing to be engaged in it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been the greatest gift for me, you know, that I've given myself through having this relationship, is that I get to, that it's like, oh, I've had these, you know, experiences where I felt these intense emotions, but I've been able to stay with them, and I've been able to move through them and realize that actually nothing can hurt me, in the sense of, you know, that I'm still intact. I can cry and I can get upset and I can nurture myself through that, but I'm intact. I haven't been, you know, like destroyed or anything like that.
Yeah. What a sacred process, right?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah,
because
totally.
That's the ultimate human experience, isn't it? Go through it, and no matter what happens, you come out of it at the other end and you're more than fine. You know, you're richer even.
Yeah, totally. And that to me is what makes me, you know, and that's kind of heightened my understanding of the grand life, you know, knowing that it's like being able to be present to all of it, and then I make new choices naturally because of okay, you know, because of the moving through stuff, then I don't need to go back and do it. And even if I do, I don't need to beat myself up about it.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't need to navigate around it or circumvent it or resist it or whatever, you know. And ultimately, aren't we always faced with exactly the challenges that we are, you know, ready to take? You know, it's never too much. That's what I've experienced, you know, when you talk about, especially in relationships, you know, and you go like, oh, you know, do we have to talk about this topic? It's like, yeah, otherwise this would not happen, you know, duh, this is what this is about, you know, and then to transport that into other areas of your life and go like, well, you know, this is all happening for me to say yes to, and it doesn't mean that, you know, I have to find it nice.
Yeah, totally, you know. And one of the recent epiphanies that I had was around commitment, because you know, for me, that was always such a, like a, particularly in my 20s, which is probably quite common, maybe not, but it doesn't matter. I had a commitment phobia, and you know, always had like one foot out the door kind of thing. And discovering recently the freedom in actually making a commitment.
Yeah, beautiful.
You know, yeah. So that was a really good one. You know, because it's like I can be free within, just because I choose to put a structure around something doesn't make me any less free. I can still, you know, be who I want to be, and I can still be present to the experience.
Yeah, and ultimately being in a relationship, or even saying, you know, you're going to marry someone, it is the ultimate freedom of every day saying, does this still resonate with me, you know? And that's the responsibility at the same time, you know. Can I make a choice every day for myself, you know? Does this nurture me? Is this good for us?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Lovely. Good to see that, you know, that's working so well for you. I mean, I've seen you share a few things about it, and I think it's just beautiful. And those are the things, you know, the freedom of the commitment. I think that's something I'm taking away from this talk. Thank you.
No, thank you. It's great to chat with you.
Yeah.
Thank you as well. So we're going to
Thanks a lot, Robert.
Absolutely. Yeah, this whole thing, I love this energy. We're talking about conscious relationships, and we've been stymied for the longest time with this whole thing of the insecure male inside of all of us that wanted, insisted that its female counterpart love it back, or its sense or awareness of love was never complete. And so, you know, as a human and as a woman, you've been denied every possible freedom to have a choice, have a place, to receive the same equal benefits of a relationship. It's only really now that women are allowing it, because the maleness inside of us, the wounded male, men and women, are looking at that and recognizing, you know, it isn't, I really love how my wounded male discovered this love, but it doesn't work if it doesn't allow my female counterpart to know a love that doesn't have an agenda connected to it. It's a sovereign love affair between her and her. And that's the part that all of us have experienced some really uncomfortable relationships throughout the history of humanity that enslaved this female counterpart, because she just wasn't willing to play that role with this insecure, wounded male who might have loved life but needed something to come back. There wasn't an agenda connected to it. So it wasn't too long ago that, you know, in this country, that women couldn't even vote. I mean, that was like, really? I mean, that's what was going on here. So it's just an amazing turnaround here to see that. And whether we see that in our extended family, I don't know, but we're seeing it with each other in ways that we're recognizing it's not about the opposites. It's about what are we doing inside of ourselves, between just in the human side, the heart and mind. Is the heart given free and equal expression? And does the heart have to love the mind for the mind to feel loved? or can the mind love itself without needing the heart to love it back? And those are really big issues that, as we weave those out and play with those in our human interactions and human relationships, from Michael's perspective, it's changing all of life. So yeah.
I think for me, it's that really now seeing how everything is just connected, how my inner world, my inner spheres, whatever is going on with my male and female side, is just playing out in the world out there. It's basically, it's playing out in my relationship. So I just don't need to look that far, but also, for the collective field, that's what's happening at the moment. And
yeah. And they're, from my perspective, the male within the collective is so unsure of itself and feels so distant, so disconnected from its own feminine counterpart, that it's being seduced with more games and more toys to just entertain itself. And it's a huge price to pay when you can be so easily distracted, to be engaged in things that divorce you completely from the intuitive knowingness of who you also are, that's more into creative expressions and likes being, involved with what's right in front of it, not a virtual experience, but what's right in front of it. So it'll be interesting to see how our human family, even though all of us are doing this work earnestly, to see how our human family chooses or doesn't choose to be involved with that.
And you can see how people that don't share the same understanding of consciousness as we do are very intrigued in what's happening. They don't, when they speak to somebody that has that balanced level of male and female, they don't know what it is, but they feel intrigued. And I guess just by being that, and just by putting yourself out there with your creations and your boldness and your vulnerability as a man, that's what this world needs.
Yeah, well, it's what we need.
Well, yeah.
We'll see if the world.
Why we do it, right? That's
exactly.
Well, good luck with that one. Yeah.
Right. Well, I'm going to pause here for a second because we have an announcement here to make, and this is something that several months ago I started to feel some new potentials brewing in my own life, and was looking at, well, where would I fit those into what I'm doing with my life and what I'm doing with the teachings of Michael. And so it took me a while to get comfortable with some of the choices that I ended up making. One of the choices I made was to let go of being the sovereign creator of 24/7 A Masters Gathering, to turn it over to someone else that would like to host this format, but could do whatever they want to do with name, format, venue, whatever they want to do. But to have those of you that have been participating in this to transition seamlessly into it having a different host. And of course, it's no coincidence here that we have Sandra here on today's show, because 24/7 A Masters Gathering, the name can be whatever it is, but we're going to turn that over to Sandra and allow her to be the host of this show. Beginning in January of next year, I will continue with next month's and next month's co-host, and then my last show will be with my co-host, Michael. Of course, he wants the last show himself. I mean, gee, I couldn't figure that out. So that will be in November. Then we'll take a break in December. And on our website, The Teachings of Michael, you'll see a link that will take you directly to the site that Sandra will create for herself, that allow you to continue to use the same software that all of you are participating in here, Zoom. So you'll be able to sign up using the same thing that you're familiar with, but it will be her lovely presence and face that will be at the front of this show, and inviting other Hubbers and anybody else that wants to be online to participate with her in any way that she wants to do it. So I'd like to step back and welcome Sandra as the new host of A Masters Gathering, whatever you choose to call it. And maybe, Sandra, you can you can talk a little bit about how that feels to you and what's going on for you.
Yeah, you know, that's basically exactly what my reaction was when you contacted me a short while back to ask, you know, if I'd be willing, if we'd be willing, Jonathan and I, to, you know, take this into our home and take it a step further for us. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't really a question for me. It was like, yeah, of course I'll do it, you know. But yeah, how do you live up with that pressure? You know, this feeling of, this is so perfect the way it is. This is your creation, Robert. This is just, you know, this is something that you have birthed together with Michael. And I just feel super honored and very, very excited about the potential that brings to the Masters Hub. So I also just want to really, really thank you again for, yeah, going with that flow and going with that impulse and passing that on to us. I mean, not really knowing what we're going to do with it.
Yeah, well, that's the deal. So here you get a boat. It's going into a really fast, rapid river, and you get one paddle, and good luck. We'll see you downstream sometime. And no, it's, you know, this whole, yeah, exactly. This whole thing was never intended to be about me or Michael. It was set up to encourage everyone to feel the freedom when you do express yourself. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be the perfect master. You don't have to be enlightened in the way that you thought enlightenment was supposed to be. Just be able to express yourself in support of yourself. But when you express yourself and show a face to someone that's willing to express themselves, there are so many people out there who need that kind of support. Yeah. To feel confident in themselves, to do that same sharing, that same expression in whatever way that works best for them. This is one of the ways.
Yeah, and of course it's very compatible with you know, with what I feel, what's needed, or what, you know, what space is available at the moment to step up to. So, you know, we do take this very seriously, in the sense of, we'd love to keep continuing that sharing, that openness, that, you know, everybody contributes with their energy, and we just create this beautiful space together. And we'll just try to make it our own with, you know, whatever qualities we have. And we've talked to Robert a couple of days ago, and I think the topic conscious relationship did not come up for nothing today. Yeah. I know Jonathan is a little bit reluctant to sort of also show up as that person in front of the camera. He likes to stay behind of the camera as a film director, but we really like to fill that gathering with that energy of what we can contribute to that whole balance. Yeah. And talk about our experiences and find out how other people are doing it, and not just conscious relationships. Ultimately, it's about, you know, being consciously alive.
Yeah. Well, to Jonathan and everyone else, when I was a boy, I stuttered. I could not stand in front of anyone. When I did stand in front of other, in a classroom setting where the teacher would invite you to come on up and you had to share a report, I dug my feet in and refused to say anything. So that was sort of the relationship. And when I did have to say something, it came out as a lot of jumbled words. So our background doesn't fit so well with what we're doing now. Mm-hmm. But in another way it does. You know, the boy inside of me that stuttered is so relieved that it can express itself in a different way here. It can be a part, it can blend with the adult Robert who doesn't have those concerns anymore in that way, have other concerns. So so we have, you know, we all have that part that hesitates and a little shy. And, you know, I was fortunate to be spending a little time with a friend, Pepper Lewis, who shared with me that at one point in her relationship with Gaia, she had to ask herself, is my shyness my truth right now? And just asking that at the time that she shared that with me, and it was no, coincidence, I needed to hear that too. That is being shy really my truth, or am I just so comfortable with that feeling that I've forgotten that I can also be freed of that and move into something very different here?
That's beautiful. And then to share from that place of, I don't know, that gives such a tremendous relief to my whole being. I don't have to know.
Yeah.
Let's all get together and not know. Isn't that great?
There you go. That sounds wonderful and beautiful.
Isn't that fantastic?
Well, we have one more. Are you up for one more guest here too?
Yeah, bring it on.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. So we've got Julian here. And let's see if we have to make the changes. And we're going to unmute you. And there you are, Julian. You're a little dark. We can hardly see your face. Looks like your audio is not on. We need you on your end. You'll need to make an adjustment there.
Is it okay?
There.
Hey.
Cool. Yeah, well, with the light is as it is, that's the best I can get at the moment.
It's good. We're good to go.
I'm gonna be a mystery man a little bit. Oh yeah. So hello. Hey, Sandra.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
We'll see each other in person next week at the barbecue. It's great.
Yeah, we just had a chat with Sandra because I signed up for the event they're organizing next week, just before the gathering, and I told her in a message that we're probably going to have a nice chat. So here we are.
We're using all channels here. We're hijacking the whole internet.
Exactly. So do I begin or you?
No, please shoot.
All right. Yeah, I just felt like really sharing today. It all happened like in the last 20 minutes that I decided I'm gonna participate because I've been allowing so much of my divine presence. Like in the last months, I totally went. Well, I'm absolutely doing it in my own way. It's pretty outrageous. I don't recommend it to everyone, but it worked for me. And I moved so much energy, and I'm really starting to experience now tangibly, like living with my divine presence, or as I call it. Well, my point of perception is actually I absolutely agree. You were both talking about it before, that we give the voice to the human, give the voice to the soul, and everything else. But once we recognize the human part and the way it is, and we start accepting it and be aware of the bullshit that's happening there and all the illusions and everything, my perception is that it's time to give your soul a voice, because you start living the new story with that kind of gestures. And the more you start expressing yourself as a master, the more you bring this reality here. Because the mind has a strong resistance towards still seeing this as a fake or pretending. But so many masters before us have talked about it, that it's actually not pretending or anything else, but it's a mere expression of your divinity. And the more you start expressing that, the more your life starts opening up in that way. And that's what I'm also gonna teach a lot and share with my beloved Shambra and other friends in my academy now. I'm also going to start with my own show called Show with a Glow, which absolutely suits me. In this month, and each month I'm going to invite a fellow master, and we're going to have a sharing together. And then also we're going to organize soon after that the seminar on the exact topic that was discussed in the webcast. And the webcast is going to be for free. As you all know, I'm sharing a lot. I'm sharing very openly my process.
Yeah, Julian, I'm in awe of the young people, and I mean this sounds like I'm old, which I'm not, but this, you're a millennial, right? You're one of those that sort of came in just around the change of the 90s, And I feel you have such a carelessness, you know, which we can learn so much from, you know. Like there's this heavy baggage that we still felt we need to process until the cows came home. You don't feel that heaviness, and that's that lightness that I feel, yeah, why not make it easy on ourselves? And like you said, you know, fake it till you make it, basically. When I call myself a master, I attract those energies. And I'm responsible to stepping up to that, you know, what I call myself. And I've noticed that when I started the Masters Hub, there was this feeling of, oh no, but I'm not ready. You know, am I ready to call myself a master yet? And I didn't have a choice because that impulse was just so strong. It just had to be lived. So ultimately, I must look back on that year and say, yeah, within that year, I have probably grown so much more into my master's presence. I probably would have not done that without stepping up to that, you know, I'll call myself that master, you know, and the human. But that's what we can all do for ourselves, you know, claim that presence and be honest with ourselves at the same time.
Yes, beautiful sharing, and I'll gladly explore this topic with you because I'm gonna share a few parts of it. And first of all, I gotta say you look magnificent and you're very young.
Thank you. I might just offer you a drink next week.
Oh, sounds great. Probably Jonathan is not listening.
He is.
I know, I have to joke a little bit. Great lover I am. So, I would put it out this way. It is kind of a relief, as I noticed when watching other masters, if you are a little bit younger, maybe in a way, but the thing I would expose most is actually my expression that I call the grand cojones. You gotta have balls for the mastery, absolutely. And that's why I'm expressing, not so much because of my youth, and thank you very much, because I feel you think I'm younger than I really am, but that's okay. And I would just say, you gotta do it. I'm kind of challenged many times from a human perspective, and Robert has been sharing it many times, that your personality is still gonna be challenged. It's just about, are you gonna give the voice, and are you gonna react when your soul says, oh, let's write, when your soul says, let's speak, when your soul says, let's play the song, let's share, because so many Shaumbra are still hiding, seriously, and it's not a judgment, it's just the fact, because of the old wounds. Well, guess what? I had my throat cut. I was killed. They did a lot of things to me because I was always at the forefront, and I was always the voice of the spirit as much as I was able to be at the moment. But it's all about doing it again now from a totally new field, being in trust, like with your divinity, with your soul, because my greatest challenge was to let go of the resistance. And Yeshua's class, Soul Infused Human, that I'm also making a little bit advertisement for you, Robert, is really, really amazing, and it really helped me to go through this resistance in easier ways. And also, of course, other teachings. And mostly, I want to thank myself, because I, as personality, was willing to allow this part of myself to be with me and now express as me. Of course, I didn't finish before. We got different parts of ourselves. But in my opinion, it's time to like merge them together and present ourselves as the master we are. Because now my human is speaking, now my soul is speaking, and now my divine is speaking. And of course, being aware of that when you're going through this process of discovering yourself, that you know what's your human part, you know your soul, and then your like eternal self counterpart, that's all perfectly fine. But essentially and eventually, in my opinion, it's then about presenting yourself as a sovereign master. And that's where you're expanding and expressing yourself from. So yeah, many older or younger Shaumbra are around there. I would say to all of them, it's about allowing. I just wrote an article recently, I'm going to publish soon in Shaumbra circles, that allowing is actually a pretty active process, and that you're allowing when you're being okay from your human perspective with the way human is, and although human is resisting, human is saying, yeah, let's go back into the comfort zones, into the old ways, you still do it. I'm like writing 4 books at the moment. I'll get many songs created and everything, and I would totally recommend art or any way of expressing yourself instead of like sticking to the old story and calling it allowing. Well, we got to be honest with ourselves.
Well, it's about moving energy, right? It's about moving any kind of energy. And, you know, the choice that I make to move energy, I don't have to do it the same way tomorrow, but I have to start somewhere. You know, I was in a place of procrastination for the longest time, just because I thought I don't want to go back out there and fall back into the same pattern. So I'd rather stay in this safe space, which wasn't safe. It was very, very crammed into this cage. But for the longest time, that was more comfortable to stay in there than make any kind of movement that could be wrong. Because I still had this idea about, you know, what happens if I make a mistake and I fuck it up? You know, what happens if this lifetime it doesn't work out? So I guess, you know, what I take away from our conversation here is be bold, you know, don't, and that doesn't mean, you know, you just have to shout louder. This means own yourself and just move some energies and play with it and forgive yourself for, you know, maybe not getting it right for the first time, you know, and love yourself for that.
I absolutely agree. And you put it out so nicely. It's about not being bold from the old perspective, but like owning your presence and giving it voice, not necessary as Robert was explaining at the beginning with the words, because I'm absolutely great with the words because I'm a poet and writer and I enjoy doing it. But for many, it's like different expressions of themselves being put out with other art forms or anything. And also just when you're living your life, when you're walking around, presenting yourself as a master, not like shouting around, but being in your presence and not hiding among your friends. I've got many Shaumbra friends. And again, it's not a judgment, my dear friends. It's absolutely the mere observation and total sharing from me, the way I did it. Still hiding, not even letting their friends know who they are and anything else. But we didn't come in this time here to hide. We came to shine our potentials. Of course, I'm absolutely different and I love to be eccentric, and that's my energy. And if I wouldn't be, I wouldn't really enjoy my life. But it's like in a band. I'm gonna give this great metaphor for the end. Everybody is at the forefront when they are like in trust and in love with themselves and shining their presence. You can be a singer, which I am in a band. You can be a guitarist who is absolutely at the forefront, but in a different way, than a drummer, than a bass player, than a piano player. We are all different expressions of spirit, of like eternity. And you gotta own yourself in order to play any of these roles, your new stories. And it doesn't matter how does your forefront looks like. It's your choice, of course. But
so what would you say, Julian, being on this expressive end of it, to the ones that are still hiding, that don't feel it's safe to go out there, that feel, you know, that I assume, and I know they're judging themselves for it, you know, what would you say to somebody that doesn't have that clear access to such an expression, such a wild expression, and, you know, to make it accessible? For me, it's always about, you know, left foot, right foot. We have to do this in small portions, otherwise we burn ourselves out. So how would you try to tune this vast waterfall into something that's digestible?
Yes, I'm gonna give a few suggestions. Of course, anybody can choose the one they want after that, because I'm coming from a totally different standpoint of view. I couldn't live with myself if I wouldn't share openly. That's my energy. But I gotta absolutely say to everyone that I had lots of resistance. Still today when I was going in, I'm totally open to sharing and everything. And I know I can talk spontaneously all the time. But my human still felt frightened. And you know, I'm okay with it. That was the whole joke. And it still felt like also in the body, you know, we were killed for it when we were sharing ourselves. And all these deep old wounds are coming up. And most of the people who are watching and observing all my sharings would say, oh, he doesn't have any problem. Yeah, my presence, who I truly am, doesn't have it. But my human was still frightened, you know, and I'm not ashamed of it. And the tools I would share, and I know that human is still going to be for a certain time, and after some time it's going to all melt totally. But let's leave it here for now. But I would say to everybody, just do it. And as Sandra suggested, do it like in a smaller portion at first, if you don't feel comfortable to putting yourself out totally. I also have a group on Facebook where I invite people to share in this safe space, their creations, their art forms and everything. And just be okay also with breathing with yourself a lot. I still do lots of Aliyah, the beautiful practice taught in Sexual Energy School, which is helping you to go through all these things. And when you're like imagining yourself already doing it, I love to do creative imagination, and Robert was suggesting it as, and Michael as pre-creating. It's basically the same thing, but from the different points of view. Imagine you're already doing it, and then you bring these potentials closer. And also when you start feeling fear and everything, still do it, and then go and breathe through it or touch yourself. Do Aliyah, whatever works for you, that you really breathe through these feelings, allow them, accept them. And by doing that, by loving your human self, you then allow the soul and the love of your divine to be present with you. And then this expression becomes more and more and more of a flow. At a certain point, you couldn't live with yourself if you wouldn't express yourself like in any way you want. You couldn't hide yourself anymore, because then you would leave the planet. It would be really boring not to share this overflow that you feel with yourself.
Thank you,
Michael
Julian.
must be so happy about this. So much better. Where to put it?
Looks like he shut himself off there. So I'm going to thank you, Julian, for being on the show. And we're going to move you here to the next role. Well, it looks like Julian's energy has got him trapped right there. So,
Sorry?
Okay, we'll move it. There you go. Okay. Well, what do we have here? Do I have any more? Yes, we have one more. It's interesting. And when people enter into an expression, safety always seems to be like the number one thing. It's always there. And in a way for them to be inspired, and something that you've created here, Sandra, within yourself is there's a presence that doesn't have any agenda, that doesn't really care if you do it or if you don't do it. I mean, that's the non-agenda part. That's the feminine part that's saying, it doesn't matter to me. I love you, respect you, accept you just as you are, but are you loving yourself deeper? Are you willing? And to me, the invitation comes from that part that has zero agenda.
Yeah.
It's an invitation. Come forward or not, but you're being invited.
It is such a subtle and fleeting insight,
Right.
And something that I have realized for myself over the last weeks, only recently, was that I am this ping pong ball, the glass ceiling of realization, but still this human going, I'm closer now. And you're with your face under this glass ceiling, but I'm closer. I can see it. You're still the human with an agenda and with expectations and with, fears. Does this work out? Yeah. And you keep navigating through whatever you have to deal with, and to then go beyond and go, wow, so everything that I was looking for, that has no agenda, that is just in total allowance of whatever is, lies beyond that point. So this goes ding, 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 does never have to sort any of this out. It never has to figure out anything, because that true knowingness lies beyond that. And I feel that's something that's coming into our knowingness now, from just the mental concept of, I understand this must be like it, but I've never really experienced it, right?
Yeah. Yes. So there were, let's say it again, there were millions of souls like ourselves that incarnated for this experience in this lifetime. There's a handful in the form, in the numbers of thousands, who are left standing, who have chosen to go through this conscious relationship between the human and soul. So all of you that are participating here today, and anyone else who is left on the planet that has made this choice, thank you, because the majority of them didn't. The majority of them, it was too difficult. It is whatever it was. They have waited to watch somebody else do it in front of them. So even though maybe a lot of you aren't quite ready or don't feel you're ready to come on here and express your truth or to be that voice in the world in whatever way you want to express it, you're still here. So let's honor that. I honor
Absolutely.
that. Otherwise it'd be lonely. It'd be boring as hell
Yes.
just to be the only ones here. So thank you. So this, Sandra and Jonathan, Coca and myself and others are all offering our support to help you feel comfortable being the magnificent being that you are. So we have one last guest, and anyone that's going to name themselves Raphael, who is really close to me. I just can't wait to see them in person. So let's bring them on, but we'll call this our last guest here on today's show. And Raphael, there you are. You look just like I thought you would look as a human being.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
Guten Abend.
Does it work? My internet is not very stable. Guten Abend. Sehr schöne Grüße aus Bremen. Hi.
Dankeschön. So, Robert, we can now do this in German. We don't need you anymore.
Oh, thank you. I'll just go get my lunch. Do whatever the two of you want to do.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yes.
Raphael. Lovely to see you.
Hi. Yeah, good to see you. Nice. Great show. Yes, I'm still a little bit overwhelmed from Julian. So I come exactly from the other side, from the more introvert. Oh, is it ready to share? Is it enough? Can I do it now? I'm not really ready. I know my creations are ready, but I feel like it comes from such a pure, non-agenda place. And whenever I want to bring this out, all the human stuff comes in between.
Mm-hmm.
And I always feel like this has to be, it has to be, I want it to have, to stay pure.
Yeah.
And then I hesitate to
Yes.
share.
And it's something, I guess, to honor that human that hesitates. Basically, you're ready. Your creations are ready. They are pure, and they can never be unpure. But when is the human ready? And what does the human need? It's that also the interaction and the coexistence with the human. So it's not just waiting for the human going, oh, can you be ready now? It's like, what do you need? What support do you need? Because the human is the one in the spiritual journey, in the journey of consciousness and realization. That's the human. So of course your master is ready, but what does the human need? That's a question that I always like to ask. Does it need more silence? Does it need more love? Does it need more encouragement? Maybe more excitement? And that can change daily. That's what I feel.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting place to explore right now. So,
what would you say you
to
need
realize that at the moment I feel like it's of course self-love. So sometimes I do alchemy sessions with myself, and I felt like sometimes I do it with singing.
Your beautiful gift.
One of them, yes. And I really, yes, in the singing, for example, I am love.
Mm-hmm.
When I do this. And yeah, and I still feel it's still not enough self-love.
Yeah, it's like my human was asking,
Tuning
how
what
do you do
very-
self-love? How do you do it?
Hmm.
How do you do self-love? You know, this is
No, it's a being. It's a frequency I can
Yeah.
feel. It's a frequency of freedom and presence that doesn't go, like partly and then bumps again against everything that is still hiding and has still this cellular information of being ridiculed, of being not enough, of being not ready, of being whatever. I realized this day I completely underestimated the influence of my parents. So to share from the purest place of presence, that's what I'm interested in. Can you still hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sometimes you break up a little bit, but it's fine.
Yes.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So,
but you ask what the human needs.
Yeah.
Actually, now it feels like support.
In what way?
In what way? In more encouragement. So exactly what we have here. And it didn't feel safe at all to say hello, here I am.
But you see,
and
a
still do
movement
it.
to get
That's
support,
nice.
a movement so that you
Yes.
become visible for, like the beautiful way that Robert puts it, for life to love you back. You have to be visible for
Yes.
life to love you back. And even if
Yeah.
that's,
Yes.
like really with that insecurity, that's actually beautiful.
And it's a crazy thing because to create this safe space for others, I'm so good in that. So, and really actually now it's like a phase of yes, giving this all to myself.
Yeah.
First, and then go out.
Yeah.
And I know there are people who do it the other way around. So teach what you want to learn. For me, I really want this feeling of realizing it inside before putting it outside.
And it's a dance. Sometimes you're ready to put yourself out there, even though, the process is not finished or whatever. I mean, it is dancing with those different notions within yourself to say, today I feel confident enough to go out there a little bit.
Yes.
Left foot, right foot. Yeah, I get up to here and then I start become shaking. Okay, go back again. And the next day I might feel hiding under the bed covers, to follow
Yes.
that flow that comes from within. And that's a beautiful thing to see if we share these things like you do,
Yeah.
This is such an important message for me.
Actually, I love. Yes.
Your audio.
So
was
I
just
love so much to come from this place of. Does it work again?
Yeah, keep going. Let's see.
So I can't hear you anymore.
You were saying, what is it that you feel?
I think her internet connection.
Yeah.
What I love is to come from this. Yes. It's bad internet connection there.
So that another way to work
Okay.
with that would be for you to eliminate the video part and just participate in the audio part,
Okay.
and then that wouldn't pull so much data from your internet connection. So you could, on your screen, you can click off your audio, your
Voilà.
video. There you go. Now, go ahead and
Ça
share.
va mieux?
Yes.
Geht's besser? Très bien.
Superbe.
Super. Très bien. So what I really especially I'm looking for is to share from a place of presence and authenticity. So this is everything I did from beginning with massage to acting to different things. It all comes down. I can all distill it down to presence and to pure presence. And when it goes into expressions, well, I'm an actor. And I'm a chanson singer. Every single chanson is a role to play. I know I am so many. So authenticity actually is not, yes. And then to find a place again from when I say, now I share from here and now I share from here. I feel always this very different, very, very different levels. It's really living the end. And so different possibilities. And just to share one and to say, wow, this is this now, and I share it like this, I simply don't get there.
You don't get to the sharing part?
Yes.
What do you mean? Okay.
Yes, yes. So I feel yeah.
Yeah, and again, listen. What does it need? What is the next impulse that automatically comes after let's hide? So okay, hiding, shutting video off. Okay, great. What's next? This is so.
I really tried every
so
connection.
Obvious. No, but it's perfect. That's it. Life
Yes.
is just revealing itself beautifully.
Yes. Yeah, and actually, why are we talking about this? I'm here, so.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all good, Again, the part has the expectation of, but this needs to be grander. Yeah, I don't mean sharing like that. I mean sharing, or sharing. This is like, left foot, right foot.
Yeah. And enlightenment is a very messy experience. Sometimes purity just doesn't really dance real well with the messiness of the enlightenment experience. So, and if we're really, holding tight to, this doesn't feel very pure, I feel really, really messy, or I feel really messed up, then, somehow then we get to play games with, this should be a more pure expression.
Mm-hmm.
But, at some point we just have to realize the human part is really messed up and just be okay with that. And then there is a pure counterpart that doesn't have any problem with how messed up the human is.
Yeah.
It's totally okay with all that. Thank you, Raphael.
Yeah.
I really,
Thank you.
yes, the name speaks to my heart. So thank you for sharing in your own unique way, being here today.
Thank you very much.
Und tschüss.
Danke und tschüss. Au revoir.
So in Germany, I assume she just said blessings to you both. So
She said, Robert is just amazing.
Oh, that's what she said. Oh, wow. Way. Well, Sandra, this has just been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed the whole experience. And
do you want to be my co-host for the next 12 months?
Next 12 months, yeah. But I'd love to be on your show sometime as a co-host. That would be a lot of fun.
That's a given.
Well, wonderful.
That's not even a choice. So
Okay. Just sign me up.
Great.
So again, it was a pleasure, and I'm looking forward to witnessing and observing how this format evolves under your wise and loving care, and where it
No
goes.
pressure.
No pressure whatsoever. No, just a lot of support. A lot of support.
Thank you. I
Sure.
feel that.
So let's thank everybody that came here today as well and took time out of their life to spend almost 2 hours together here, as we hope to offer a place where each of you feel that now is the time to step into your own expression. And it couldn't be any safer than right now. In fact, it's not going to be any safer if we're using the background that we're living around. This is really the prime time to claim your freedom, and you're being called, you're being invited, you're being gently tapped on the shoulder. Join us,
Yeah.
because it's a lot more fun when there's more of us doing this.
Absolutely. I love the opportunity to just be connected around the world and just speak to like-minded, and let's all not know, let's all get together and not know, and just celebrate the messy humanness, and eventually that other part joins us as well.
Yay.
Yay.
Thank you again, Sandra. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to
Thank
say
you.
some closing remarks here.
Goodbye, everybody.
Indeed. So we're back again, and thank you all for taking this time to be here with us. We enjoyed your presence, enjoyed your company. We look forward to you next month with my next co-host, and my last show as the primary host is going to be in November. Until then, all my blessings to each and every one of you.